I just want to thank everybody who came here tonight. I have comments to make. Thank you. River Walk did answer my questions at the last meeting, but I appreciate the efforts that many from the public have made in reaching out to me and other members of the council. And I do think that we owe it to them to explain our position, and I think it would be beneficial for both the town and the taxpayer to understand what the best route moving forward would be. First, we have to determine this issue of whether a long-term tax exemption or a pilot is the most efficient method of moving forward. Pilots are very common in New Jersey in municipalities that receive substantial funding from the state of New Jersey for their educational systems. We don't have that luxury here. We spend about $22,000 per student. The taxpayers are going to need to make up the deficit here, as we do in Avalon Bay, where we have 21 students. And in Avalon Bay, there's no affordable housing component. Affordable COA apartments are more likely to have students than non-COA apartments. Pilots work for the taxpayer property owners if the rents are constantly increasing. Mr. Halliburty, Mr. Wijaskala have made statements that the markets go through waves, and right now it's very expensive to buy the goods that are necessary to construct. Right now, interest rates are very high, but we don't know that apartment rents are going to be high forever. So in a sense, the town is making a long-term investment, not knowing what the average rents are going to be like 10 years, 20 years, 30 years from now. Throughout New Jersey, we have serious vacancy issues for retail and office because they were overbuilt in the 80s and the 90s. We know that birth rates are declining in America and in New Jersey. And there's really no way to know that decades from now that apartments won't experience the same bust that we see in the retail and office market. Ad valorem taxation just makes more sense. I looked today, we have 16 class 4C apartments in the town of Boonton. The aggregate assessment is around $241 million. We have 184 class 4A commercial properties. Many of them have apartments. These units do not have pilot agreements. Avalon Bay is the only building with a pilot, as we know. Secondly, on to the zoning. Now, the Board of Aldermen, this council formerly decided to rezone the property many years ago and to allow 45 units per acre. Studies went into that determination. More units is going to require more police. It's going to require more fire calls. We looked at the numbers, and Avalon Bay last year had about over 220 calls, which was approximately 3% of all calls. We're going to have more issues in terms of police calls and more fire calls, and we're going to need to address that, the town council with. We're exceeding the number of stories that are allowed in the zoning. The third aspect is transferring the DPW. I think that decision is premature. I'm not convinced that the relocation is feasible or beneficial. And then finally, we don't need a pilot agreement. If we do make the decision that we want to do something else with the DPW site or with aspects of it, we don't need a pilot agreement in order to do that. Here, the taxpayer has pledged to, as I've heard tonight, $2 million in additional cleanup costs for that site, but we don't know what percentage of the total cleanup cost that's going to cost. That could be a multi-million-dollar project that the town is going to have to pay the bill for, and I don't know that we have done the research necessary to conclude that that's a good idea. There are many differences between this project and Avalon Bay. In this instance, the taxpayer has said on the record that he's already paid $2 million in cleanup costs. This property was purchased in 2020 before there were any talks with anyone on the town council, to my knowledge, regarding a pilot program. I understand that Avalon Bay had been in discussion with officials from the municipality before it formally closed, on the property that it purchased. And then I think here on the council, we just have to really think, both look at towns around us and our own experiences, because I was here on December 19th. We also had a lot of people from the public that night. We were told by the singers that if they didn't get this one specific property on Division Street, if we said no to their rezoning request, that they would just find another town for their business. But we We made a decision there. And then only about a month later, we were informed that Boontown Provisions was going to operate in another location in the zone where we had previously allowed that type of use. So here, we are being told that a pilot agreement is the only feasible manner, but we know, I'm not going to interrupt you.
Just everybody else is pretty good. You're at 5.5.
Okay, well, we know that Parsippany has 4 apartments under construction and 2 of them are much bigger than this one. No pilots. 11 to 21 Upper Pond, 325 units, 65 COA, no pilot. The Park Project, 490 apartments, no pilot. I think here that it's in the best interest of the town that we work with these taxpayers, see what we can do without a pilot, and see what we can do to try to meet the current zoning to the greatest extent possible. Thank you all.